Yeah, my name is Emeka Okafor. I am a blogger, a venture catalyst, an entrepreneur, and an individual who believes very strongly in the power of ingenuity, innovation, and invention, and its application to Africa's ability to lift itself up from where it is now.
So you're one of the founders and you're one of the members of the organized team here of Faire. What is Faire about?
Yes, I'm one of the founders and organizers of Faire Africa. Faire Africa is a concept derived from an existing organization in the United States called Make Magazine that led to the spin-off of Faire in the United States, and we felt that there was a need within Africa to have an event that focused on the making and fabrication of products, prototypes, inventions, and the celebration of ingenuity throughout the continent that exists and needs to be uncovered.
So you do have your roots in Africa, but you don't live in Africa. You're living in New York. What
Yes.
brings you over here?
Well, I do consider myself Nigerian. I was born in the United Kingdom, and I currently live in New York City. I spent a considerable amount of time in Nigeria, and I maintain strong connections with the continent and with Nigeria itself. And fundamentally, I feel most at home there, even though I split my time between Nigeria, Ghana, as I am now, and New York, where I spend most of my time. But I see Africa as a whole as a place of tremendous promise, and all the endeavors I'm involved in do have an Africa connection.
So we were talking just before the interview about the situation here in Africa. How would you describe the educational system, and how would you describe also the potential you have here in Africa?
In my opinion, I would assert that the educational system in Africa is broken, that it doesn't have the ability to recognize talent and creativity where it exists. It actually snuffs out the creative and innovative types that have the potential to amplify the continent's inherent abilities. It's broken, but we think it can be fixed, and we believe that Faire could be a small start, a small step in the process of turning the dial a bit to educate people on the importance of understanding innovation for what it is in its raw form, unadulterated form. And we're by no means saying that high technology isn't important. If not anything, we do have high-tech innovation here at Faire. What we are saying is that technology and ingenuity and creativity is equivalent, that the fact that you have the blacksmith or the person who is involved in biotechnology is not mutually exclusive. All these individuals, all these areas of interest do have a very strong role to play, and we very strongly think that it's important that we build complementary components that we hope will lead to an ecosystem that feeds off each other, where people from one area cross-pollinate individuals from another area, and ultimately we hope lead to the construction of something that can stand on its own two legs and need less of an assistance or a nudge from the outside.
The human capital in Africa, is it there, or needs it more to be developed, or?
The human capital exists within the continent. We have one of the most youthful populations in the world. What we need to work on is a systemic way of molding this capital to become productive and self-reliant. And we can only do that by addressing the fundamentals, education, our attitudes towards production as opposed to extraction and consumption, when we do that, how we do that, and our ability to be successful in that will completely change what to many might seem presently as an unproductive resource to one that is much more productive and sustainable. So I have confidence in our human capital, especially if we're able to harness and change systems presently that do not work as they should presently.
How can people help from outside? Like, I've got the feeling that this traditional development aid comes to some kind of an end, and people demanding other things. And I do really believe that other things are necessary to get this continent here really going. So if you speak to people in the Western world, in the US, how could they help?
I would advise or implore people or institutions to focus on those emerging initiatives and institutions within the continent that are full of promise or beginning to show promise in their ability to address what I mentioned earlier, which is the human capital. There are examples of institutions that are beginning to change things around at a very fundamental level. We have educational institutions like Ashesi University here in Ghana, that is a liberal arts college set up by a young Ghanaian barely 8 years ago, that in the short span of its existence has started producing the types of individuals that we need more of. Institutions like Ashesi University, institutions like a preparatory school in South Africa called the African Leadership Academy, that was actually established by a Ghanaian who quite strongly believed in the importance of preparing potential leaders and imbuing them with the values and qualities that they would need from throughout the continent to lead their various countries. I would look at initiatives such as the Teach a Man to Fish organization, which is a school or a model that builds high schools that empowers the individuals to sustainably run the schools based on the product that they produce, but also the product that they're learning to produce, which in this case is agriculture, which, as we do know, employs the great bulk of the population within the continent. So in short, I would say, let us look at what is really working. Let us focus on these types of institutions and make them more successful. See how we can propagate them and replicate these existing models, albeit with adaptations to suit the varying environment. So what might work in Ghana might not necessarily work exactly in Malawi, but with certain adaptations it will. And if it's homegrown and it's coming from within, then it has a greater chance of actually outliving, what we know as the pilot project debacle that we tend to see across the continent. We've had enough of pilot projects that really don't go anywhere, and we don't need any more. We need projects that have long legs.
So